Finally, I made it. Or so I thought.
Hello everyone, welcome to PST channel, game story, movie style for your busy days. So glad you could join me as we get back into the awesome story of Another Eden. Today, we're hitting up the first half of Part 3, The Kronos Empire Strikes Back. That's Volumes 1 and 2. As Aldo's incredible 8-year journey starts to reach its peak, what there will be the biggest reveal to the story since Episode 1. So, you know the drill. Grab your favourite snacks, settle in, and let's get this story rolling.
Because I know it leads to you. After Aldo and his friends' Eastern adventure concluded, Professor Madoka and Eden returned to Zurvan, the Sea of Time. But in her final moments, she told Aldo and Fine that they would meet again. However, since that time, Aldo and his companions had found no further clues regarding this. One day, Aldo went to see the Master at Time's forgotten stop. He found the Master discussing something with Ashtir. After Ashtir departed, Aldo inquired about the Master's conversation with her, but the Master was evasive and didn't answer his questions. Furthermore, Aldo had a feeling that something significant was about to occur. The Master merely warned Aldo to be cautious. After Aldo departed, the Master murmured, "The true battle, the Time War, has already started." After Aldo and his companions were attacked by a huge battleship, they plummeted into an enormous hole that materialized in the sky. They found themselves reappearing in a strange forest, unlike any they knew from their own world. After exploring the forest for a short time, they came across a village. As Aldo and his friends looked for someone to ask about their whereabouts, they were astonished to discover that the inhabitants were mechanical people. After speaking with them, Aldo and his companions learned that this world and the village were populated by mechanical life forms, or mechs. The year was AD 300, and humans supposedly lived in a place called the Kronos Empire. However, the villagers seemed to know little about this empire. Aldo and his friends decided to seek more information in Omegapolis, a large city vastly different from the small village. Suddenly, Aldo's group noticed a young lady mech who appeared deeply troubled. Upon inquiring, they learned she needed a special cooking knife to prepare food suitable for humans, as her current one was only designed for mech cuisine. The materials for this special blade could be obtained from a hawk drone in Moonsteel Forest, the very forest where they had first arrived. Hearing this, Aldo and his companions decided to venture into Moonsteel Forest to hunt the hawk drone for the young lady mech. However, upon their return from Moonsteel Forest, they were horrified to find the young lady mech lying motionless. The other mechs explained that her light spark, the very core of a mech's existence, had been stolen by a light spark thief. If it wasn't recovered soon, she would perish completely. Fearing they wouldn't be able to track down the thief and retrieve the stolen light spark in time, Aldo and his friends decided to find a new one at Lightspark Hollow, located southeast of the forest. This was known as the place where new light sparks were created. En route to Lightspark Hollow, Aldo's party discovered a rift connecting back to their own world. Through it, they saw that Synth Hydra was safe. However, Synth Hydra could not join them on this new adventure, as its massive form was too large to pass through the rift into the mech world. Soon after, Aldo's group arrived at Lightspark Hollow. They found the source of the light sparks. They seemed to sprout from a large, living red stone. As they attempted to take one, they were obstructed by Gardos, the guardian of Lightspark Hollow, whose sacred duty was to prevent any light sparks from being stolen. Gardos declared, "This here is their founder, a precious gift of red stone descended from the heavens." Despite Aldo and his companions explaining their urgent need for a light spark, Gardos refused to yield. Thus, a battle commenced between them. Gardos was ultimately defeated. Humbled, he permitted Aldo to take a light spark. Afterward, Aldo's party gave the newly acquired light spark to the villagers, hoping to save the young lady mech. But just as they were about to use it, a female human named Minalka suddenly appeared, accompanied by Kronos Empire soldiers. To everyone's shock, she was revealed to be an arbiter of the very Kronos Empire the mechs feared. Minalka ordered her soldiers to stand down, declaring she would personally escort Aldo's group to Omegapolis. She dismissed an HQ warning about intruders from another world. Seemingly unconcerned, she informed Aldo and his companions that they were the foreigners in this hollow time layer. When Aldo's group questioned the villagers further, they confirmed, the Kronos Empire controls this whole world, beyond just space and time, mech country and all of us. Following this revelation, Aldo and his companions bid farewell to the villagers and set off for Omegapolis, hoping to uncover more information. Upon their arrival in Omegapolis, Minalka was informed by a subordinate that the Empire would not directly interfere with Aldo's activities. However, she was ordered to keep them under close surveillance. Not long after, while Aldo and his companions were walking through the city, they witnessed a mech boy named Korobulk arguing with other mechs. Upon inquiring, they learned that Korobulk was heading to the Spark Forge. a factory west of town, past the mountains. It's where Lightspark gets implanted in mech frames, one explained. A mech's life, including their frame, is all decided for them. Those are the rules. Korobulk was designated to live in the Omegapolis underbelly, but he had fallen in love with a noble girl, mech who resided in the Omegapolis midlayer. Therefore, he wanted to go to the Sparkforge to transfer his Lightspark into a noble frame, so he could live in the Omegapolis midlayer. Concerned for Korobulk, Aldo and his friends decided to follow him to the Sparkforge, even though Korobulk's plight seemed unrelated to the Empire. However, upon reaching the factory, Aldo's group unfortunately fell prey to the security system. Just as they were in dire straits, Ashtia appeared and came to their aid. A surprised Aldo asked how she had come to be there. She explained that the Master had asked her to undertake a certain mission, so she had boarded Hydra. When Hydra was attacked, she was inside and thus fell into this world, just like Aldo and his companions. She had been searching for them ever since. After Ashtia learned of Aldo's group's situation and Korobulk's predicament, she decided to help and joined Aldo's party. Soon after, Aldo and his companions found Korobulk. Although Korobulk had successfully transferred his Lightspark into a new frame, something was wrong. Suddenly, Darius, leader of the rebel group, the Acacia Stargliders, a group of rule-breaking mechs who had been secretly following Aldo's party, interjected. He informed them, once their Lightspark has been transplanted into their bodies, they won't accept a different frame type. That Korobulk's an underbelly type, a completely different model from the mid-layer nobles. If he tries to change frames, the new frame will reject him, and his Lightspark will stop working. Upon hearing this, Ashtia resolved to build a new body for Korobulk using materials available in the factory. In the quest to find materials for Korobulk, in addition to Aldo and his friends' efforts, Darius cooperated with Ashtia, providing information on the location of the necessary components. Finally, Aldo's group managed to gather all the materials, and Ashtia successfully constructed a new body for Korobulk. However, even though Korobulk was successfully revived, he couldn't remember anything, not even who he was. Seeing that Korobulk had nowhere to go, Ashtia invited him to join Aldo's group. Korobulk agreed and asked them to call him Korobo instead, a name Ashtia quite liked. But their troubles were not yet over. Darius informed them, frames and components made in the factory all have a kill switch. Sometime after leaving the factory, his functions will cease, and he will be no more. Completed mechs are only allowed freedom once that switch has been removed. You should be able to disable it from the control room further in. Hearing this, Aldo and his companions rushed towards the control room to disable the kill switch. Upon reaching it, they battled Gidron, the security bot blocking their path. They managed to defeat it and successfully deactivated Korobo's kill switch. Afterward, as Aldo's group prepared to leave the factory, Darius approached them. He asked them to meet him in Lashval, a city on the sea, adding that he would arrange for fireworks to welcome them. To travel to Lashval, Aldo and his companions needed to take the shorerunner from Omegapolis. However, tickets for the shorerunner could only be purchased by mid-layer mechs. Fortunately, when Aldo's group went to the station, they encountered the Lady, a noble mech with considerable influence, considered a member of the ruling class who governed the lives of all mechs. When she learned they needed tickets for the shore runner to Lashval, she gave them special tickets, stating, "It is her duty to help those in need within a megapolis." Thus, Aldo and his companions were able to journey to Lashval. However, upon arriving in Lashval and meeting Darius, he informed them that he hadn't quite finished preparing their welcome celebration. Moreover, he had a little favour to ask before their welcome party: to hunt for treasure from a legendary kingdom that sank to the bottom of the ocean long ago. The treasure was a pearl, beautiful and enormous like none this world has ever seen, located in a place known as Aquatic Fantasia, at the bottom of the ocean. Aldo agreed. But when Aldo and his companions finally located the legendary pearl from a sunken kingdom, they discovered the legendary pearl was, in fact, a vessel that had sailed the sea long ago, named the Sleeping Pearl. Furthermore, the ship possessed a consciousness, much like Hydra. However, beyond its name, the Sleeping Pearl couldn't remember anything else. Aldo invited the Sleeping Pearl to accompany them to Lashval. However, not long after Aldo's group returned to Lashval, they found that the Acacia Stargliders have hijacked the shore runner. They loaded the train full of explosives, and now they're speeding towards a megapolis. It turned out that today's the day of the shore runner's 100th anniversary, and the Lady was therefore present there. The welcome party and fireworks Darius had mentioned for Aldo were, in fact, this devastating plan. Aldo and his companions decided to use the Sleeping Pearl to pursue and stop Darius's scheme. Following the conductor's advice to use the emergency inspection hoverboard, Aldo and his companions successfully confronted Darius. Darius then revealed his motives to Aldo. Beyond seeking to change the world of mechs by escaping the oppressive rule of the nobility and the Empire, he was also avenging a dear friend. This friend had disagreed with Darius's methods and had chosen a different path, becoming a journalist to expose the Empire's plans. Darius suspected either the Empire or the Lady was responsible for his friend's demise. Upon hearing this, Minalka declared, "She will not let this stupid vehicle destroy my friend's town." Ultimately, Aldo and his companions managed to stop Darius. As thanks, they were invited to the Lady's mansion. When Aldo's group arrived at the Lady's mansion to inquire about this world, the hollow time layer, and the Kronos Empire, however, Darius appeared and warned Aldo not to be deceived by the Lady. "She's just stalling for time. The Imperials will be here any minute." He then revealed that his beloved friend, Yuki, was investigating the mystery of the Tree of Time. He was also investigating the Lightspark thieves. The Lady laughed and confessed. It was her who sent Yuki's information to the Empire. She didn't like him poking his nose into the Lightspark thefts. She told the Empire there was a troublesome mech snooping around the Tree of Time. They sent the Arbiters to deal with Yuki. Enraged, Darius drew his gun and shot the Lady, causing her to collapse. However, she stood up before him again, even though the bullet penetrated her light spark. This was because she possessed two hearts. The stolen light sparks were for her own use. the lady ordered her subordinates to deal with Darius. And just as she was confident of her victory, Minalka intervened, destroying the lady's second heart. In Darius' final moments, Minalka spoke with him, who had also been Yuki's friend. Before Darius died, he implored her to go to the Tree of Time to continue Yuki's legacy. It certainly sounds like this Tree of Time holds some great secret. Thus, the next destination for Aldo and his companions became the Tree of Time. And finally, Minalka met Yuki there. It seemed he still possessed his consciousness. He told Minalka that the power that lies in the Tree of Time must not be handed to the Empire, and entrusted his memories and his mind, the Iron Heart, to her. Minalka decided she would not hand over the Tree of Time's power to the Empire. Afterward, Aldo and his companions appeared to have reached the top of the Tree of Time. And then, Yuki's memories began to shine, accompanied by an unknown wave energy detected. Phenomenon is spreading across the entire Tree of Time. Meanwhile, something is awakening within the Tree of Time. Nidhogg, the legendary dragon said to protect the Tree of Time, appeared before Aldo and his companions, blocking their path. Aldo's group was forced to drive it away. At last, they scared off Nidhogg, and at that very moment, a mysterious girl with pink twin tails materialized before Aldo and his companions. She declared, "It is the Hollow Clock, a device to create the time of the gods. The Hollow Clock has finally been revived." She then demanded that Minalka hand over the key from Yuki, the Iron Heart. Naturally, Minalka refused. Afterward, Kamlenij appeared beside the mysterious girl. He informed Aldo's group that the girl was Professor Sebastia, a scientist with the Kronos Empire. Professor Sebastia is the grown-up version of the Sebastia from his and Aldo's space-time. He added that he, too, had been summoned to this hollow time layer. Or rather, it could be said that he was called back by his father, the Emperor of the Kronos Empire. The Kronos Emperor appeared, accompanied by the Kronos Empire's dimensional destroyer fleet that had previously attacked Hydra. He announced, "At long last, their final battle is nigh. The time war with the goddess of time approaches." Furthermore, it seemed that the Kronos Emperor and Ashtir knew each other from before. The Kronos Emperor invited Aldo's group to the Kronos Empire. Aldo accepted, having few other options, and seeing it as an opportunity to learn more about each other. When Aldo and his companions arrived at the Kronos Empire, the Kronos Emperor, Professor Sebastia, and Kamlanaj appeared before them once more. The Kronos Emperor granted Aldo's group a certain degree of freedom to move about and visit the Kronos Empire, hoping they would see the value in what he was doing and join the Empire. As for Minalka, the Kronos Emperor ordered her to continue watching over Aldo's group until she received new orders from him. Although he could have killed her and taken the Iron Heart, he refrained from doing so, wishing to avoid unnecessary bloodshed and unsure how the Iron Heart would react to Minalka's death. Afterward, Ashtir recounted various things she knew to Aldo. A long time ago, in an era far, far removed from our own, the gods of chaos and order were locked in battle. A battle which order ultimately won. Following this, the god of order decided to seal off the world where chaos had taken root from the rest of space-time. That was the origin of the Hollow Time layer. The Hollow has been completely subjugated by the military might of the Empire, with Kronos at its head, and in this world, Madoka had passed away. Furthermore, Eden and Fine were never born here. The Kronos Emperor and his wife had only a single child, Kamlanaj. The Hollow Time layer's Madoka had an unusual power, the power to link her mind with versions of herself in other layers. She wanted to use that power to create a perfect, idealistic world. And she experienced visions as well. Sebastia was born earlier in the Hollow than she was in your world, and when she and Madoka first met, Madoka had a vision of her as an adult. Seeing the scientific genius that Sebastia would become, Madoka immediately began work on an android modelled in her image. Madoka used her powers to create a version of the android in every time layer. This allowed her to collect data from all over space-time to aid her search for the ideal world. The Sebastia android in Aldo's world is Rika. Before giving birth to Kamlanaj, Madoka lost her first child in a miscarriage. In some ways, Sebastia became the daughter she was meant to have. But at times, the data from different layers would overwrite itself, or her location would desync. Rika exists in every time layer, which means that even if history is changed, Rika herself will not cease to exist. That's why Rika was the only one who didn't disappear back then. In the end, Madoka died before her plan could amount to anything at all. After her second child, Kamlanaj, was born, her body simply gave out. Suddenly, Emperor Kronos appeared and stated that Madoka was still alive. Before she died, it turns out Madoka found a way to digitize the human mind, her mind to be precise. He explained, "The data allowed us to bring her back, powers and all, as an almost godlike AI." He also revealed that Ashtir was the one who had abducted Kamlanaj and hidden him away. But she immediately retorted that Madoka begged her to protect him from Emperor Kronos' vile ambitions. Furthermore, before Emperor Kronos departed, he had secretly invited Ogre Rankaram to collaborate with him. Additionally, Ashtir revealed that Kronos' plan was to break the God of Order's seal on the Hollow Time layer, although she didn't yet know many details of the plan. Suddenly, an alarm blared, warning that Null Gear Unit 02 Grand Hades, one of the giant robots, had lost control and was attacking the city. Upon hearing this, Aldo and his companions rushed to stop it. Inside the rampaging Grand Hades, Hollow Amy was desperately trying to control it and prevent it from destroying the city. Aldo's group engaged Grand Hades in battle, but the best they can do is slow it down. And just as Aldo's group was about to be overwhelmed by Grand Hades, Kamlanaj, piloting another giant robot, guilty Hades, intervened to protect them. Suddenly, Feina's gear prisma began to glow. Feina told Aldo and the others, if they link their hearts using Kamlanaj and her powers, she thinks they can control guilty Hades too. With the help of Aldo and his friends, Kamlanaj successfully managed to stop Grand Hades. Afterward, the air around guilty Hades suddenly grew heavy, and Kamlanaj urged Aldo and his companions to get on board guilty Hades immediately. Aldo's group found themselves in a strange, new world. They thanked Kamlanaj, who, despite his own confusion about his path in life, had chosen to follow his heart and help them when they were in danger. They invited Kamlanaj to join their party, and he accepted. Unfortunately, guilty Hades is completely unresponsive. Repairing it would not be easy, as they had no idea where to find spare parts, nor did they even know where they were. Suddenly, they encountered a cat that could stand on 2 legs and speak. This led Minalka to realize they must be in the Lost Age, which corresponded to the year BC 12,000 in Aldo's world. However, this was her first time visiting this era. Aldo and his companions decided to follow the cat to its village. When Aldo's group reached the cat's village, they learned that the world they were in was actually the year 20,000 BC, and the cat people who could stand on 2 legs and speak were called the Mew. That's one of their distinctive traits. The Mew are known to be friendly and curious by nature, and generally just follow their instincts. Furthermore, they discovered that the Red Meteors, which had nearly struck them upon their arrival in this era, were said to cause the Mew's extinction. The Mew were well aware of this because the Hollow is sealed off from the rest of space-time. It's impossible to change the course of history. They know everything about their past, present, and future, even the cause of their own destruction. They have accepted their destiny and live their lives accordingly. Additionally, guilty Hades was first discovered in this era. This meant that Aldo and his companions could find the necessary parts here as long as they knew where to look. Not long after, Aldo's group met Technician Mew and an Imperial archaeologist named Valette, who could help them repair guilty Hades. Valette also turned out to be an old friend of Ashtir and Gunz, a talking bear currently working for Valette. They collaborated to find parts to repair the damaged guilty Hades. Valette led Aldo's group to the Sakurita's ruins to search for components. While searching for parts to repair guilty Hades, they encountered a hollow ghost and battled it in the deepest part of the ruins. Afterward, Aldo's group managed to drive it away. Moreover, Korobo had managed to grab the parts for repairing guilty Hades from the hollow ghost during the fight. Thus, Aldo and his companions were able to take the acquired parts back and successfully repair guilty Hades. Following this, Aldo's group decided to gather more information about this world in Tolutan City of Pleasures. As one of the 2 largest settlements in this world, with Valette accompanying them. However, en route to Tolutan, while everyone was resting, guilty Hades was stolen by Valette. Valette had stolen guilty Hades from Aldo's group to use it as leverage to negotiate an extension on her debt repayment to her creditor, King Gemlazar, the Cat King, heir to the founding family of Tolutan, though the title is a nickname. He holds total control over the city, as he is a wealthy businessman and moneylender. King Gemlazar, however, saw no value in guilty Hades. He declared that if Valette could not repay her debt by the end of the day, he would take her as a slave. Fortunately, Aldo's group arrived in time. Though angered by Valette's theft of guilty Hades, Aldo still considered her a friend and wanted to help. King Gemlazar seized the opportunity to lure Aldo's group into his twisted death game. Survival in the Labyrinth of Thanoos, an arena where warriors fight for their lives through a maze of murderous monsters. Aldo and his companions, using guilty Hades, managed to navigate the labyrinth. But King Gemlazar had no intention of keeping his promise and planned to claim guilty Hades for himself. Luckily, Hala, Gemlazar's son, who disagreed with his father's ways, appeared to help Aldo's group. He threatened his father, stating that if Gemlazar went back on his word, the entire city would know he had deceived humans, and even intended to kill his own son. Reluctantly, Gemlazar let Aldo's group go. Hala, deeming it unsafe for them to remain in the city, advised Aldo's group to head to the Holy Land of Yanatu. There, Dorjova, Gemlazar's younger brother and Hala's uncle, is the leader. Yanatu is a holy city for those who worship the winged beast. It's one of the 2 largest cities in the world, alongside Tolutan. Hala stated that the winged beast is the one light of hope for a race destined for extinction. When Aldo's group met Dorjova and asked him about the winged beast, Dorjova replied, "The legends passed down by our people speak of 2 holy beings, a creator god who harboured a deep love of cats, and a mysterious being called the Cat Beyond Time and Space." Unfortunately, they knew little about the latter. Upon learning that Aldo's purpose was to save the Mew from the Red Meteors, Dorjova advised them to go to Turialba, known to some as the Tower of the Dawn, and to others as the Lighthouse of the Null. Aldo's group then met the lighthouse keeper, who recounted a prophecy left by her ancestors. "Under rays of afternoon sun, the Null shall light your way. On the island of waterfalls at the heart of the world, seek the winged beast. When the red stones fall, the great beast will awaken to spread its wings once more, opening the path of worlds." Do the red stones really herald the destruction of the Mew? Will the winged beast actually awaken? With many questions yet unanswered, Aldo's group went to Turialba, Lighthouse of the Null, to find answers. There, they found Sebastia and Imperial soldiers awaiting them. After defeating Sebastia's Imperial soldiers, suddenly, guilty Hades, Gunts, and the Turialba Null Flame reacted. And Aldo's group receives the blessing of the Hollow Flame. In order to solve the mystery of the red stones and the winged beast, Aldos makes his way to the waterfall at the centre of the world. Aldo's group ascends the central falls only to find Isolfa a lifeless ruin. There, a lingering spirit tells them of the Blood Ring, and asks them to seek out the Mew's lost fragments of resolve. The Blood Ring is the red ring of light that crosses our night skies. The secret of the winged beast and the coming calamity lies somewhere within. With the fragments of resolve found, Aldo's group presented them to the lingering spirit. The lingering spirit thanked Aldo's group and sent them to the heart of the Blood Ring. There, Aldo's group encountered the progenitor of the red stones. It was enormous. And it's alive. Suddenly, winged beast, but it was then attacked by an Imperial Riftbreaker. "It's not a winged beast," Kronos stated, "but another servant of the goddess of time, a being of raw energy much like the dragon god that the Aldo fought on Snakebone Island appeared." Furthermore, Kronos Emperor stated, "The Blood Ring is itself an extraterrestrial life form." He then dispatched Professor Sebastia, piloting Grand Hades II to battle Aldo's group. Although, at first it seemed that Aldo's group, including Guilty Hades, could do nothing against Grand Hades II, and Guilty Hades was even pushed off, falling to the ground below. But in the end, Valette ordered Gunts. Gun, the gun cache, one of the Hollow God's long-lost terraforming units, to attack Grand Hades, ultimately defeating it. This allowed Rika to finally capture Sebastia. While the goddess's beast was being attacked by an imperial rift breaker sent by the Kronos Emperor to destroy the seal on the world, AI Madoka appeared to protect it from the Kronos Emperor. In that instant, Guilty Hades, or the true winged beast, awakened. It spread its wings and clashed with the Kronos Emperor's imperial rift breaker. Incidentally, after completing Chapter 104, or Into the Hollow, The Kronos Empire Strikes Back, Volume 2, the game will unlock the Red Meteors Quest. When Aldo decides to accept this quest, he will be asked by Conan, an astronomer and mythologist studying the blood ring stratosphere, to have them investigate 5 meteor craters. In each crater, Aldo's group will encounter Lavogs and battle them. Each time Aldo's group defeats a Lavog, it will drop a crystal. After Aldo's group has vanquished all the Lavog and collected all 5 crystals dropped by them. However, the matter is not yet concluded. The fragments dropped by the Lavog begin to glow and float up towards the blood ring, causing it to tremble, as if the blood ring is falling. Aldo's group therefore travels to the blood ring and encounters the Grand Crystalloid Lavog, which is the true form of the Lavogs. The 5 Lavogs were merely fragments that had broken off from this giant. Aldo's group engages it in battle and finally manages to defeat it. However, defeating has a cosmic menace like the Star Devourer with mere human strength is nearly impossible. It reverts to its original state once more. But then, Tenkuri Maru, which was forged by using the memories of the stars to slay beings that descend from the heavens or from the sky, and it was crafted to shield the stars from a calamity that descended from the sky, belonging to Cyrus, begins to shine. At this moment, Kamlanaj, Fine, and Altena also use their powers to empower Tenkiri Maru with the life melody of the hollow time layer to make it even mightier. At last, the calamity is averted, and a part of Lavog's power was absorbed as memories by Tenkiri Maru, turning it red and evolving it into Hoshikiri Maru. And thus, the Mu are safe from the legend's prophecy. And that's where we'll leave it for today, folks. What a roller coaster, from the depths of the mech world to the ancient past of the Mu, and now the stage is set for an even bigger confrontation with the Kronos Emperor. What will happen next in Into the Hollow? Will AI Madoka's appearance change the tide? And what is the true nature of the winged beast, Guilty Hades? Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out when we continue this epic saga. Let me know your theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. Until next time, stay awesome. Please like and subscribe if you like this channel. This channel is created for people who want to experience game stories, but not have the time commitment. We'll cover classics like Final Fantasy 1 to 16, as well as mobile and MMO games. No need to spend hours learning their stories anymore. A quarter is all PST asks. Thank you, and see you soon.